Sound check.
Yep.
Sound
Check, making sure that makes sense.
sound.
All right. Welcome, world, to the first episode of The Pretty Good Parent.
Yeah.
So, this is our introduction episode, Josh, to let people know what we're all about. My name's Dan Nickel, and I'm here with Josh Emery, licensed therapist for over 20 years. Why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, Josh? And
Thanks, Dan.
why are we doing this podcast?
Well, you and I both have been talking for years just about fun ways to help. You're a passionate father. I'm a passionate father. Neither one of us are perfect. Neither one of us need to be perfect. But we both talked about how can I take what I do in the office, for 20 plus years of listening to kids complain and cry and moan and wish their parents would do X, Y, or Z, and listen to parents cry and moan and wish their kids would do X, Y, or Z. There's just so much help that we can give. And this format is endless, really. We can cover any topic. We're not bound to a session limits. We're not bound to confidentiality. We can talk about all of it in a fun way. And the goal is to give super practical advice on how to make a difference today in your home with your kids. And, the big vision, the big mission is create a better world, which sounds real grandiose and cheesy, but it's actually what would happen when we're helping parents raise responsible, well-adjusted, healthy young adults that then become parents. Significant change in the world when wiser, more mature parents are involved. So selfishly, we get to help ourselves be better, hopefully our friends and our family and those that want to listen, because what I've seen isn't mine. It's just what happens. And I know oh, don't do that. Oh, try this. And that stuff works. And years and years of clients saying well, what book should I read? Or can I just put you in my ear as I talk to my kid? This is a, close step of I can kind of be in your ear and give you some good advice, because this stuff doesn't have to be rocket science.
Yeah. Well, I think, as you mentioned, we've been friends for, 30 plus years, something like that. I can't do math, but we're old. But so I selfishly have always felt like I've had a lifeline to you. And I would say a lot of if I've had any good parenting, it's probably because of you. So I guess I'm super excited to be able to share this with anybody, that if it can help anybody, right? And so going from our experiences. So, it's awesome. Like I said, you've had over 20 years of experience and have been a huge wealth of information for me. And so when you and I talked about this, it was a no-brainer because, I was in the stage of my life, just figuring out what is my purpose, what do I want to do. I've been in the tech industry for 20 years, had a lot of fun, but it's just kind of always wanted that sort of higher purpose. And then, I think we've been talking about all different podcasts and books we read. I got into this Arthur Brooks. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Arthur Brooks. Just wrote a book with Oprah, breaking down sort of the idea of happiness, right? What is happiness? Yeah. And something that just kind of rocked me to my core was when I read that, and he talked about happiness is sort of broken down into 3 parts, right? And I'll probably butcher it, but I know one is satisfaction, right? So it's doing something that you usually get satisfaction when you do something that takes struggle, right? It's got to be worth the struggle to be satisfied with it. The other one is enjoyment, right? Which I think is basically something with pleasure with people and building memories, right? So doing pleasurable things with people, building memories. And so that kind of checked another one of those boxes, that we could do this together. Also with it being adventurous, right? Which is fun. But the last one that really got me was purpose. What is your purpose, right? And he said, if you don't know what your purpose is, then think about, maybe why are you on this planet? What are you here to give? And if that's not real evident, then what are you willing to die for tomorrow? Right. Yeah. And that just rocked me to my core. That was a no-brainer. So I have a wife, Libby, 3
your
kids.
Golf game.
And my golf game. Yeah.
What am I willing to die for?
I'll be willing to die for. Yeah. Just one. I just hit a nice little nasty draw, high draw. Is that so bad? But it was just my family, my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
And then I thought, back to my own experiences and just my existence on this planet growing up. And I'm like, how much of our lives are shaped by what our parents give us.
Yeah.
And from the very beginning. And I said, if there's anything I can do to help better my kids' lives with any good parenting tactics or techniques, or, basically just trying not to save as much money for therapy for them down the road, right?
Yeah.
Because there is no real just easy playbook, right? There is no handbook. And so I'm super excited to go along with this journey with you, and just I get to just be a sponge and learn a ton. And that's really all I'm bringing to the table, Josh, is just I'm just going to be here and ask questions. Maybe some
questions.
Great questions, maybe some dumb questions.
No dumb questions.
And
dumb people.
But literally, I just want to be a better parent. And like you said, there is no perfect. So I'd love to be a pretty good parent. And I just want to have a great, fulfilling life with my kids and my wife. And I think being a good parent probably goes into also being a good spouse. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of carryover there.
Absolutely.
And so, I'm just super stoked to embark on this.
I love it. Yeah, me too, buddy. And it's fun to do it together. And it's fun to know that there's built-in accountability when we talk about it and talk about these principles, these ideas. It's hard for us not to benefit from that when we go home and try to practice what we preach. And so I think I benefit from that accountability. It's nice to be able to talk about it. It's fresh on the mind. It's good for all of us. Something I didn't say a little bit ago, and that is not just my experience as a therapist working with youth and family, but my father is also a therapist. We're actually in practice together. And I came from a really great home environment where my parents will say over and over they weren't perfect. But they were just so good at being reasonable, fun, and instilling enough values to guide my brother and I through a good life. And just the impact of having that as a reference point and database to pull from when I work with other families. I want to be able to give that to others. They don't have that childhood experience perhaps that maybe I did, but they can create those for their kids and start that generational change now, and not feel like it's just like something that eludes their family or something. So, but that's another part of my kind of database of parenting. It's I remember when I was a kid and my dad said or did this, or my mom said or did this. And thankfully they were really good and really reasonable, not perfect. And I can highlight their mistakes here and there, but they'd be the first ones too to say, oh, sure, we didn't always know, but we were trying to do this, this, and this. And, it doesn't have to be a blueprint for every family, but the simple principles that are good parenting can be kind of constructed in that way. And part of our parenting program is, if you do these things, you're going to be a pretty good parent. You don't have to be excellent at all of them. You can even not be great at some of them. But if you do all these things and have these on your mind regularly, you're going to be a pretty good parent. And what kid wouldn't want to grow up with pretty good parents? It's a nice home to come from.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I'm excited, man. It's going to be fun. And so, and again, we're just figuring this out as we go, but we'll have, bringing on guests, plan on bringing on, from all different walks of life to reaching out on social media and gathering questions. And we want to answer your questions and just basically all learn how to be pretty good parents together and
well said.
Grow together. So
be a resource for any parent that wants to be better. And try to give them, again, practical, daily, applicable advice that they can see a difference immediately.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing this, Josh. Stoked to get going, and I know we have a lot of good, fun content coming down the pipe here. So please join and subscribe, and we'll all try to be pretty good parents together.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, listener, for being here. You obviously care about your role, and we'll do our best to help you be a pretty good parent.
Pretty good. Pretty good.